guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. What I want to do now is present to the work of Multicultural Arts and Media Centres an opportunity for us to showcase in front of you good people of the work that we've been providing over the past 25, 26 years. And I think, as they say, seeing is believing. A picture tells a thousand words. So the video is about 13, 14 minutes. Please watch that, because that will help me to say what we need to say. Thanks. Physically, what is coming to now is that to keep all this going, we need to be resourced. And I'm very thankful to my work placements, 7, 8 that you will see here. Some are already finished and they'll come back to help. And without these people, I won't have survived. I have to owe it to Terry as far as this place is concerned now. He's not expecting this. As far as this place is concerned, there's been great help from local councillors. Terry's been very instrumental. Otherwise this place, well, not just this place, this organisation, 26 years of work would have closed down in March. So we are thankful for his advice and support, and the other councillors, and particularly the clinical commissioning group and Link for Life to giving us that financial support. I'm delighted to see the diverse people and the different sectors presented here, from schools to adult care, people from the community centres, and we've got people from the mental health and well-being organisations as well. So thank you very much for coming. And now, just to start off our thinking behind the conference today, I've made some notes just to facilitate today's objectives. The purpose of the conference is to look at collective approach of asking questions, listens to diverse views, compare answers, and make informal decisions about what to do next to improve quality of life and well-being, understand and promote our cultural wealth. We need to understand more and be aware of social indicators such as education in schools, cultural and faith organizations' teachings, safeguarding children and adults, crime rate, issues for older and people with disability, etc. What about being aware of achievements of people's or council's work across the borough? What can we do more to help older people and people with disability? What do we know about joint strategic assessment needs? And how it's going to affect the population in terms of future plans and well-being needs? Is the communication and information made simple? We know there's a lot of work being done to overcome barriers such as isolated groups, sport for vulnerable, BME community, etc. How can we further improve communication to reach out and engage our communities? Do we really understand the social and economic aspect of providing cultural training, engagement through faith events and cultural events? What impact of community cohesion and equality policy has already had? How are we measuring this, and how can we improve it? Are there mechanisms in place to support the providers or the trainers? Educating people on cultural education and citizenship through regular programs is so important. Do we know anything about the skill force who is delivering this kind of work? Do we need to develop more people in this area? We need to identify gaps between level of services, information or opportunities existing in one community and those existing in similar communities or geographic areas. Overall, the question is, how can we work together without feeling isolated or marginalized? All of us must be positive, open-minded, and enjoy making that difference with everyone to lead a good life. Today is the start of many engagement opportunities to come. We would like to provide each other the opportunity to relax and feel welcome, to express your views so that needs can be translated into measurable outcomes, objectives, resources, and criteria for program planning and evaluation. I would like to invite our first honourable speaker, Mr. Irfan Chishti, MBE. To justify one's credentials, could I ask each speaker to please highlight your experiences in your field. Round of applause for Irfan Chisholm.
So I'd like you to just have a couple of minutes on your tables. If you've got any paper, just maybe make some notes. I will be asking for feedback. The question is, what do you think multiculturalism has done for Britain? What has this diverse communities that we live in, what has that done for us? How has it enhanced us? The title on the published kind of programme is the benefits, but I thought if you don't look at the challenges, then it's a little bit perhaps one-sided. So just take a few moments in your tables. What do you think multiculturalism has done for Britain? 3 minutes, no more, no less.
It's done a number of things really. Economically, I think again, if you look at Prime Minister on the last week, so parts of our Oxford and so forth, the students in Oxford, without them, Oxford University would not be Oxford University. It would be the poor place in university. The language, the food. Look at the food that we have. I've been to Germany, I've been to Sweden. There's no way the food that we have in there. The variety of food.
Top table, since they're the most senior and the most important. And perhaps the most confident. All right, top 3, guys.
We've got exposed to different cultures, traditions, foods. Great.
Hang on, exposure.
Yeah.
And then that's food. What do you say? Traditions.
Cultures.
Traditions and cultures. Brilliant, thank you very much. That's 3 done.
Right, well, we came up with open up people's perspectives, being more respectful to other societies and more understanding of cultures and accepting these types of cultures, and improve knowledge, not having a naive viewpoint.
Some of the things they're saying that's already been said, the positive impacts on the health services and life in general. More understanding of other cultures, food, etc.
Just let me stop you on that. Positive impact of health, did you say?
On the health services.
Explain that a bit. Can you expand on that?
Well, one can see quite readily if one attends any hospitals or any places like that, the numbers of different ethnic groups, from the continent of Europe or Asia or the African countries. If we didn't have that racial mix and that type of people coming into the National Health Service would have closed down many years.
So professional skill sets.
Professional skill sets.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
So that's been a fantastic help to the country. Without that, we wouldn't have survived as an health service in this country.
Brilliant, thank you.
Also, understanding of other cultures, I think.
We've already had that, yeah?
Yeah, and food, etc.
And the other thing we said was that, understandably, people tend to live in geographical areas where people of the same culture live, and one of the things that needs to be worked out is ways in which we can communicate, speak face to face, have friendships with other people.
So the increase of diversity, you're saying, did you say that this geographical kind of movement, is that a natural disposition, does that just happen, or is it an engineered kind of situation?
Well, we were saying that here in Rochdale it's certainly true that there are some areas which have people from a certain ethnic background in a much higher proportion from in other areas in Rochdale. I think engineering people to mix together is perhaps the wrong way of doing things, but creative ways in which different communities and members of different communities can meet together is a big question about how it can be done.
What's the challenge at the moment? We're here in Rochdale Borough. Rochdale Borough and cohesion has been done better than anywhere else. Let's look where we've come from in the last 10 years. Bolton, Oldham, riots, communities working against each other. It didn't happen here in Rochdale. in the borough of Rochdale. I'm a prime example of how things work. I'm a councillor in one of the biggest Asian populations in the borough. My ward is over 80% Asian constituents, and I got elected to represent them. There's an example of how we do things in this borough.
So what's the challenge?
The challenge for me at the moment is we do cohesion really well, but because of the financial situation we're in, I am worried that cohesion has gone down the political agenda and the finances are not there to keep doing all the good work we have done and we need to keep doing to make sure we don't become an Oldham or a Burnley or anywhere else. So that is what I see as the biggest challenge at the moment. Well, that's my personal opinion rather than the tables.
Thank you very much. So I've just put on there maintaining that code.
Good morning, everybody. What are my credentials? I'm the law. If you break the law, and Chris Hankinson, they'll come knocking on your door. But no, realistically, I think there's a number of people here that will vouch for what some of my credentials are. I think between me and Chris, we bring nearly 50 years of policing experience to Rochdale. And that's really important because when you talk about cohesion, and Terry alluded to it earlier, it doesn't happen by accident. There's a lot of work that are done by agencies, that are done by the community to ensure that towns like Rochdale remain a safe place for people. And when you look at what are the principles of the Office of Constable, it's about protecting people, life and property and keeping the Queen's peace. And that's what really a lot of our effort should be around. So when we look at events like this, these events are engineered really to bring those communities together, to sort of dispel some of those misunderstandings, to ensure that we have an opportunity to be able to speak about things that sometimes we might hide behind, we might be a little bit reticent about talking about, and sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable. And when you have events such as community and cultural events, what do they actually mean? And basically what they mean is that let's come together and let's talk about issues that affect us. And when you look at some of the work that we do within Greater Manchester Police and the local authority, one of the sort of new projects that's come out that was sort of initiated by Chris and myself was the Community Cohesion Hub. And I just really want to talk a little bit about what that hub is about and what some of the aims are around it. So what is the Community Cohesion Hub? The Hub was really set about as a 2-year project headed by myself and Chris, the local authority in terms of a Principal Cohesion Officer, Steph Kendrick-Jones, and Emma, who's sat on one of the tables here at the back. But in addition to that, we've got Sajad Mir from Education, we've got Senior Youth Worker, and we've got Housing, we've got Policy, and we've got Media. And those are sort of key players that we bring together to start looking at addressing some of the issues within our borough. It really started off with when we had the EDL coming down to the borough, and a lot of you will have seen some of the sort of disruption that caused to a number of our communities. And there were two ways of policing that. Either we could have policed it as a public order situation, or we engaged with the community in terms of actually collectively how we're going to address one of the concerns and one of the issues that was on the minds of a lot of individuals. And I think the aims in itself are summed up with what's... sorry, I'm going to turn the wrong way here. Are summed up with what's on the screen in terms of engagement with communities to build and strengthen the resilience that we have as individuals. It's about having that dialogue which encourages less fixed interpretations of cultures, opening our minds, identifying communities and celebrating the difference, and really being open with ourselves. And I think if we base our sort of ethos around what that community hub is, we start looking at some of the issues around what need to be tackled and what need to be addressed. So what is our activity as part of that hub, as part of that partnership? it is really around, we've got there right at the very top CMG. CMG is a consequence management group. And the consequence management group is based around public and the partners working together to address some of those issues. So for example, when we had the issue of the EDL attending at Rochdale, it was not the police just going out and dictating to communities about how we were going to police and how we were going to manage them coming into the town. It was about bringing the communities together to say collectively, what is it we want to achieve? And ultimately that was around harmony, it was around ensuring that any myths or misunderstandings were quickly dispelled. It was about getting credible communications out within that community. World Cafe, and you'll see some examples on the next slide, around how do we engage with communities? What is the purpose of engagement? You know, we always talk about engagement, we talk about raising awareness, but what are the purposes behind that and what are we trying to achieve? If we look at the travellers, these are all sorts of issues that as communities, they cause us concern. So it's not always just about race or religion or issues that are directly confronted to us through visible difference. Later on this evening, we've got a young person's question time, so a similar environment to today where we've got adults talking about particular issues, looking at ways to move forward, to enhance that community cohesion. It's very, very important that we listen to young people and understand what it is that their needs are, what are their requirements, and do they really have a voice in our borough? And then taxi accreditation, it's also about ensuring that if we do have an issue within our borough, what are we doing collectively to try and enhance that, to improve it and upskill ourselves? These are some of the events that we're running. Today is a typical example, as Mohammed mentioned there, about how do you bring communities together? What's the syllabus around the issues that people want to talk about, and do they have a safe environment in which they can discuss those? Beyond the Veil's another one where at the moment it's a controversial issue nationally. Do we want to talk about it, or are we fearful about talking about those particular issues? But again, it's not about me dictating what those issues should be. As a community, we should be able to talk about them, debate them, discuss them, and see what our responsibilities as a community are in society. And as I mentioned there, the young persons. Integrated neighbourhood policing teams. It's a concept that Greater Manchester Police have brought in, that the hub of all our activity has got to revolve around how we engage and how we police a community. If you look at the Peelian concept around the police are the community are the police, what does that actually mean? Because certainly the British Police Service is about policing with consent. When we look at the teams that we've now developed here at Rochdale, you have a neighbourhood inspector, you have a detective inspector, and then you have a whole team of officers, including your PCSOs, the special constabulary, volunteers, who are all there designed to look at problems holistically. So rather than dealing with them in isolation, what we want to try and do is look at all the issues around how we need to police Rochdale. Engagement. I talked about engagement. Why is that really important? If I want to deal with a particular problem or a particular issue, I may have a way of dealing with that. It's really important that we understand actually as a community you also have a part to play in that, whether that's through crime prevention, whether that's through home watch schemes, whether it's through attending your forums. You have a voice, you have a say. As I said earlier, it's about policing with consent. We need to understand what is it as a society, as a community we want, or what you want from your police service. Know your community. A lot of effort and a lot of training is now delivered to our officers to understand what is the makeup of your community. Do you understand the different needs within that community and the different requirements that we as a service need to be able to provide? Vulnerability is a real big issue at the moment, whether it's the elderly, whether it's young people. We've had a lot of bad press recently around child sexual exploitation. It's not always about enforcement, sometimes it's about prevention. But how do we prevent things and how do we address those? And that brings you on to problem solving. In terms of, to solve that problem, you need to have all the information before you. So a lot of our officers now are developing their skills in terms of to avoid further reoccurrences, to reduce the demand on services. Certainly with the austere measures that we have at the moment, we've got to be smarter in terms of how we use the services that are available to us. So problem solving, again, our staff should be out there talking to your communities, engaging you in those problems, and you having a larger part to play in that. And then finally on recruitment, if we want to be successful as a police service, then we need to represent the communities that we serve. Greater Manchester Police now at the moment have got a real recruitment drive to try and ensure that, because if you look over the last 20-30 years, communities have changed dramatically. We've got a massive influx from Europe, from the Eastern European continent. So again, we need to understand how those communities' needs are met, and which better way of meeting it is through having people from that community joining us, whether it's as a police officer, as a community support officer, or back office support. So really important through events like this that we're always talking about recruitment. And finally, I just wanted to say that when you actually look at sort of community cohesion, and the word was mentioned about tolerance and intolerance, really it's about doing the right thing. It's about understanding what those needs are in your communities. Do we really understand them, and the services that we put or the policies we make, do we understand the effect that that has on us? Thank you very much.
And to facilitate the presentation of the certificates, I would like to invite Councillor Farouk Ahmed, who is the Finance Officer, to come on the stage and do us the honour of presenting. Yeah. This course was facilitated by Rochdale Hopwood College through the ESF funding, Big Farm Link for Life and Clinical Commissioning Group. And before we actually present this, let me show you the piece of work. Can I, Mr. Farouk, could I have you over here? Yeah. That is a lot of work, isn't it? A lot of patience, yeah? You're a role model. Now, these are not in-house certificates. They're proper certificates, and I hope that very soon you're going to get some employment. Start. Linda Brennan. Yeah, well done. Maxine Brennan.
But I'd like to say, with Sour, it's been a very good. We have a very good relationship where we work together. The involvement is always constantly emailing, letting me know what events are going on and what sort of it keeps me informed. But unfortunately, I can't attend all the events. It's very difficult sometimes, but it's good to know there's activities going on. And it's all about getting people together, different organisations together. And I think we're in difficult times where fundings are being cut, and we're feeling the pinch at the moment. And I was speaking to my good friend Sheila over there about community centres and how we need to be working more closely with each other. And this is a great way to promote, collaboration work. And we want to see more of this and see more things progressing on. And I think, integration is very important. And in today's society, we talk about BME and, and we don't want to talk about BME. We want to talk about one. We're all in it together. We want to be working together, and we're no different from each other. We breathe the same air. When we cut ourselves, we bleed the same colour of blood, and we're all one. Yeah. So we want to see more of that, and in the council we are seeing that, and hopefully in the future we'll see more of these events going on, and keep me posted like you usually do anyway. But thank you very much, everyone.
Getting together for occasions.
Yeah, or if the kids are being given one particular message, they'll be able to challenge some of these kind of messages from the parents, maybe, and the kind of support on there.
Can be a tool to educate and challenge and raise awareness to our peers, to their peers.
And you're reducing the ultimate aim really is reducing.
It's a way of living and being.
Yeah. Pause. Reducing waste, hopefully, by correct facts, I think it is, as opposed to
Finding the right
being
information.
given. Yeah.
Ours is what we call a wellbeing group. You know, we don't all very well at the moment, but we're on to it. Like our academics at the moment. Yeah. But we do. We go on walks and things. We go out and things.
Just different people with different views in life and diversity. We come across in a multiracial society. We see people from different backgrounds, and we meet them all day usually. And the plan, the action plan, we got a bit sidetracked on some of the discussions at our table. But I think what we say was we target the different communities that we think aren't engaging. So actively seek those people who aren't engaging and go out and try and make friendships with people. Like we do on a normal basis. You walk into this room today, I'm sure lots of people sat here talking to each other who didn't know each other when they walked in. And so it's only the same thing, but on a bigger scale. So we go out on the streets, we all see people. We make things accessible, so when people come in, they feel welcome. So it's not like, who are you and what do you want? It's like, come inside, nice to meet you.
Hello everyone, I'm Andy, and we discussed understanding your community. So what we did, we just kind of did a brainstorm of what we thought was important of forming a strong community. So the biggest one we had was respect, that was in capitals. Then confidence to join in, make up of your neighbours and community, so kind of what kind of is the fundamentals and the background of your neighbourhood and how it's kind of built over time. Community newsletter, how to engage effectively with communities. We mentioned kind of using social media as well as newsletters, whatever kind of form is best, such as kind of younger people staying inside their homes and communicating and not going out on the street and socialising that way. Core community group leads and organisations, so different kind of faith groups coming together to plan community events. Getting together at events, then we also put down regular events and lead communities led, so instead of having one event a year, having regular events so people start to engage more often. Celebrating together, having a community hub or a central point for people to come to. Then we also have incentives to join in, history of the community, and respecting that history. Joint working and partnerships with different agencies. Having knowledge and sharing with each other and what's available locally, so it's kind of a signposting mechanism so people are pushed into the right services that they need. And then being informed as well, so there's a part to play by different agencies to inform communities of how you can link in together, and also making it of interest to people, so it's no point in trying to promote something that no one's interested in, so you have to buy into before you can actually get people to engage. So that was essentially it, really.
Thank you very much. You make it so simple. Okay. Can we have the next table, please? And guess what we discovered today? It's a small world. When I mentioned Dr. Bobby Box, he's a gentleman who actually attended Exeter, so he knows of Dr. So that's a great link.
Do the scribing, so I'll try and leave somebody else to write it. My name is David Cornford, and I'm here as a representative of the Walk and Talk group, which meets at Site Community Centre. The question is, what is culture? When we refer to somebody as cultured in English, we usually mean absorbed in the arts and so on and so forth. That's not the answer that we're looking for today. We're trying to go right back to basics. So we said, culture is a way of living and behaving which has evolved over centuries and is influenced by personal and collective experiences. And we've highlighted 4 examples. We took first of all religion. The Christian religion, as you know, has 10 commandments. Doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or a non-Christian English guy. culture is living according to those commandments, whether you're actually a church goer or not. The law, we believe, we can also relate back to religion. Those same commandments are reflected in law. We believe that social pressures are part of the culture, and we believe that education and the arts also influences your culture. We then tried to ask the question, what problems arise from the difference between local culture and incoming culture, and the extent to which, the extent, if any, to which certain elements of incoming culture are not compatible with English life. Where do you draw the line? Everybody may draw the line in a different way. And finally, we talked about the question of how Barry mentioned earlier on that we've had a very small number of Asian members of the working group. We've got the usual jargon in our constitution. There is no bar to race, ethnic origin, sexual orientation, and so on and so forth. That doesn't drag them in. It's a question of how we go about persuading people to join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution, and we have last but not the least, representative of the final table.
Hi everyone, I'm Melanie and I'm from Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service, based here at Rochdale. And ours was today, how can arts and media help wellbeing? So first of all, we said it can help release creative energy. It's good for the mind, mental well-being. Flexible hours to work within, as opposed to just 9 to 5, we can do weekend work and evening work. Socialising, good to meet new people. Makes learning more fun. Art can help you express yourself in who you want to be. Can help reduce depression. It's good to learn new skills, improve self-esteem and confidence. Offering a voice to unrepresented groups. Informing, educating and entertaining. We do all 3 of them in one hit. Promotion of image, identify, hence teaching it's fine and okay to be different, to express yourself within art. And it can offer an alternative working model. For example, there was a lady who was with us earlier on, as opposed to, we ask all our children these days what you want to be, and say a policeman, a nurse, a hairdresser, but you can offer alternatives by means of filming and going into different ways of teaching, like what the BBC do, and that's a good way to assist with that. The next is importance of multiculturalism in schools. If we teach multiculturalism in schools from an early age, it can promote respect, hence raising awareness on different cultures and behaviours. Introduce children to globalisation, reduction in bullying, can be a tool to educate and challenge and raise awareness to our peers. Obviously, if children teach adults about it's fine to be different. Reduce racism, hopefully, that's our main aim, by being given the correct facts as opposed to people's biased opinions. Removes ignorance and can enhance integration within communities via music and arts.
Thank you very much indeed. Has anybody else got any other views or opinions they want to express? How do you feel about the event today? Can we hear it? Put your hand up. Anybody who wants to say anything about the event today?
It's been very interesting.
On the mic, please. We want to record.
He's not going to let you off.
Can you keep the mic closer to your mouth, please? Thank you.
I just think it's been very interesting to find out about different, everybody's different opinions and how many different groups are here today. It's interesting. It's now I've worked in Rochdale for 13 years and I've never been to this building before. So it's nice to be able to see what's available and what things are happening within the communities.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Now, the next one, very important one. Did the speakers provide good information? Very shy. You were shy 5 minutes ago. Okay, could you take mic over there, please?
But by and large, they've opened our eyes really to what is actually going on in Rochdale. But we would have liked a lady speaker.
Yes, excellent. If they come on time, yes, fine.
Take exception to that.
I'm not pointing at anybody. Could you please welcome Ravina Yasmin? She's from the oh, I've changed again. Sorry, Yasmin Bukhari. Yeah, she's from the head department of the fire service. Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming.
So, Bob wants to say something.
Please do.
We were talking about today's events. My observation, not critical or controversial, just observation. What I found, most of the suggestions were based on religion. It's a multicultural meeting, so it should have based on whether the children have to learn about history, arts and culture, and God, and all that. I hope everybody can understand my Rochdale accent. Yeah. So that way I thought, being multicultural, you've got to talk about all the different cultures, not just religion. Today I noticed most of it was religion. But I find from personal experience, religion is the main cause of all the problems in the world from history. I do believe in God, but I'm South Indian, born as a Hindu. But after coming to this country about 45 years ago to do engineering, I learned quite a lot. I joined the Methodist Youth Club just to meet people and all that, and got to know quite a lot. And I noticed it's like football. I like football, but I don't have to support Manchester United or Liverpool and start fighting each other on that excuse. That way, religion, I do believe in religion, God, and do good things in life. But don't have to belong to one religion to do good things. That I wasn't aware of tonight's meeting, but mostly based on religion. That's all it's called.
Thank you very much. Because, as you notice from the topics that we delivered today, it doesn't categorize any particular religion. But if people feel they want to express something about it, like you've done, some are personal opinions, some are experiences, you listen to people and then you try to, make those improvements. Vicky, thank you very much for coming. You said you'll come. Thank you very much for that. Now, some of these answers perhaps will overlap. Would you promote today's topics in your local area? Say if we want to do a similar event in your area. Would you do that? Put your hand up, please. John? Thank you. Could you please speak on that? You're very shy. Okay. Would you promote in your event? John is from Langley area, so that's great. Okay. He's taking the message across, isn't it? What do you think of this place? Besides being congested, today we had about 80 odd people, which is fantastic. Thank you.
I'd just like to say that I've worked with Malt for more years than I care to remember, and through many, many different areas where he's worked, where he's tried to promote this organisation. And I feel today we need to congratulate him on what this organisation has achieved. They have had cuts to their funding over the many years, and they have looked to people for support. They have obviously got that support to have what you've got today. And can I congratulate you on the way in which you've organised it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Well, I just want to personally thank you all for coming and again supporting the cause, and that's important. We need to continue, not have a yearly conference, because you lose very important time we need to work with young people. Now I particularly found, I don't know what is happening, that you know, the young kids nowadays and the parents, there seems to be a more gap growing in there. Is it because we are putting young people more forefront of everything and leaving the parents and the older people behind with information? You know, so the information sharing between the kids, the authorities, I just find personally there seems to be a gap in there. How can we actually address that? You know, you cannot just put your parents or your older people aside. They're a history, they're a culture, they're an investment which we need to learn from, and hopefully we can capture it through this. Young people need to be invited at lots of events together, you know, and they shouldn't be like, okay, we're working with young people, we're working with older people, adults, etc. There needs to be integration, you know, as a family, you know. So hopefully we can create it with a good sport. Thank you very much for being here.